podcast. He has his thumb on the pulse of what's going on in hip hop and Generation Z. This is our dear brother, Jordan Nichols. He is a community organizer, and I know you work on fitness and
Yeah, I'm a certified personal trainer and a certified sports nutrition coach. So I deal with coaching, on different levels from the youth to adults.
yeah, I like to call you a community wellness coach because you deal with a lot of different things.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, indeed. And we also have another God voice. We're gonna put him in, Rob. Rob is like the what is that man from across the fence?
Wilson.
Yeah. Yeah, that's him. Rob is he knows so anyway, we're gonna go ahead and get started. Y'all wanna start the live?
Yeah, we started.
We already started?
We live.
Oh, hey y'all.
Full effect.
Pull up on us. Tonight we have the wonderful opportunity of speaking with 4 magnificent gentlemen here on Sex in the Church podcast. We're covering community economics. And I'm so grateful to have people here in the studio, as well as a leader in theology whom we know as Daniel Walpert.
Let's go.
Yeah, great to be here.
Y'all seen the skit? Well, not the skit. What is it? It was a skit that Drewski did. The comedian Drewski did a skit on church, as well as I think 2 weeks right behind T.I. having a comment that he made saying that church is just the middleman,
right.
And he doesn't see any value in going to church, and that it was just a business for people to collect money. I think he was saying he went to Jamal Bryant's church, and when he walked into they did an extra offering when they saw the rappers come in, kind of like the same way they do at the strip club when they see the rappers come in. And so it was a way for them to make more money is how he perceived it. And then Drewski came right behind him with the skit that, as they say, broke the internet. I wanted to ask you all, a comedian made us laugh about it and a rapper had us uncomfortable. But tonight we're really stepping away from the noise to ask a deeper question. What is the reason why it rubbed so many people the wrong way? I'm going to open up with asking our dear brother, Jordan Nichols, wellness activist. Tell me why you think the Drewski skit kind of struck a nerve.
I think because the truth hurts. I mean, that's the best way I could say it. The truth hurts. And if you want my personal opinion, I'll just say that, it's like when somebody's not doing what they should be doing and you call them out on it and it's hard. They're like, oh, well, you could just be focusing on the good. You so focused on the bad, but the bad is that much of a price. Matter of fact, if we sit down and talk about it, you'll see just how bad the bad is.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, right. The satire was used to bring something out that needed to be talked about. What you think, Big V?
And so the kind of comedian that Drewski is, he's been doing that for quite some time now. He'll touch on different races, different religions, all of that stuff, and it's like a shock value to it, but with a little bit of truth, actually a whole lot of truth in it, like Jordan said, with a lot of truth in it. And it's one of those things that if he's not your cup of tea as a comedian, then why are you even watching it to even get offended?
Right.
So that's how I am with that. And a comedy, I always feel like comedy, like the comedians that we grew up on, like Richard Pryor, Robin Harris, those type of comedians wouldn't make it in this world today because of how sensitive people are about
with cancel culture
with all of this stuff going on.
Nobody wants to be offended.
Right.
That's the purpose of satire, right?
And the whole purpose of it is for you to be able to look within and laugh at yourself.
Exactly. Daniel, thank you so much for being here again. We just truly appreciate you coming in all the way from, did you say Seattle?
Seattle,
My
Washington.
God. My God. What do the use of satire and cultural critique, why did that resonate so deeply with people who spend time in church? And how do you think the church talks about money? I mean, why do you think it was such a struck a nerve from your perspective?
Well, I just have to agree with what's already been said. I mean, first of all, satire is one of the best ways to reveal the and man, I mean that skit, I was just rolling. I was laughing so hard, and so he did a great job, and I think the reason it struck a nerve, as he said, is that he's telling the truth. I mean, there's something deeply disordered about the church's relationship with money. There's a lot of layers to it. I'm figuring we're going to get into that today, but yeah, I mean, oh my gosh, when he was hanging there in the air, he was guy in the parking lot, like, have you given your tithes? Get away from me! Oh my God! I mean, it's just
right. It was too true. It was too true. In your opinion, how does the way a church talk about money, giving, and blessing shape a person's inner spiritual life over time?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It does shape your spiritual life. I mean, what you're hearing every day influences you, and you're coming into a community and you're seeing the way people behave, and you're coming up in that community. You're growing up in it. You're hearing it every week, and it begins to shape you. And so this idea that we've got to give for God
Head
to
south on Fremont Avenue North.
Oh, it's GPS on. That's why his voice got low. Your voice got low because of your GPS.
Okay, forget it. Sorry. Forget it.
This is messed up here.
No, you'll end up hanging up if you do that. You have to get your Bluetooth off.
Okay, can you guys hear me?
We
Yeah.
can, yes.
Okay, sorry about that. There we go. I think now we're back on the iPods. Okay, and so again, you start to feel like the reason that you're in church is to give money, right? I mean,
Yeah.
and this isn't new. I mean, I had a friend that was grew up in the Armenian Orthodox Church, and he used to joke about the fact that, every time he looked up as a little kid, they were passing the plate another time. And,
Right.
the plate would go 5 or 6 times around before you got out of there. So it does form us, and it's very confusing, and if it's disordered, then you end up really feeling like the whole thing is a scam and is no different than the strip club or a business that has nothing to do with God.
Yes, thank you so much. Have you guys personally experienced any of those times where you felt like, okay, have your strip club moment, or it felt like I'm doing this and it has very little to do with God? Like, have y'all experienced that?
Yeah, I can say that. I'd have to think of some, think for a while to think of something specific.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as the feeling goes, I could say I've had that feeling.
Yeah. Have we not? Has everybody, let me say this, who has not had the feeling when you walking in church that, okay, this is a money grab? Has everybody had that feeling?
So, like, I don't know. I don't think I've had that feeling personally, but it's been so many, like, with social media and stuff, you see so many things. What was the last one where I think it happened like last year where the guy had everybody locked in and was like, if you
The
don't,
Winans. Was that the Winans?
was it the one?
Yeah.
I remember that. I don't remember the details of it, but I remember.
It was like you gotta have I said $5,000 or we're gonna raise this much money or can't nobody leave. Like, now you holding me
Right.
hostage about some money when I just came here to hear the word. Like,
Yes.
I never experienced that, and I don't
You
even know
never
what I'd do.
experienced that?
I don't know what I'd do if I did experience that.
That was surprising to a lot of people, but I'm just telling you, even as a preacher, when I was a young licentiate, I experienced that. A pastor told me, all right, this is how we got to raise this budget money, and this is how you're going to go about doing it. And he told me, we're going to lock the doors. We're going to have the stewards lock the doors of the church. And we're going to tell them they cannot leave until we raise this $5,000. Like, that's what I was taught in this particular church. Say what you need to say, Brother Robert.
So, the last time my voice was here, we talked about the building fund.
Building fund. Yes.
That is notorious.
The infamous building fund that continues to just be in need. Like, the building fund just continues to grow, right?
The door still off the hinge a little bit. Need some, what is it, WD-40, but
right.
We raised $2,500.
You know what? Daniel did an article that talked about the transparency of giving. Mm-hmm. And I want to bring up the church as a mutual aid. Like, the church should be this functional, institutional mutual aid fund, which we've done that historically as a church. We have been all of the things to each other and to the community. But now that concept and that idea seems to be dwindling, partially, I think, because of the heterogeneous value system in society. Like, we all don't think about the same things the same ways anymore.
Right.
But primarily because of this, the lack of transparency and accountability. I want to ask Daniel, please, let's talk a little bit about that and your concept of mutual aid and how transparency and accountability kind of overlap.
Hello?
We're here.
We hear you.
Yep. Yeah, so, I think that the jumping off point for this, there was a moment in the TI podcast where he kind of started riffing theologically about connecting with God and the individual relationship with God. But then he was like, but then there's some kind of problem if you're not connected to the Word. And then he said, well, this is probably going over your head. He said, I'm even getting a little confused right now. And, and I think that what he was hitting on right there and the confusion that he was feeling and experiencing is really getting at the deeper issue here. Because if you have a theology and a church situation where basically salvation is about an individual relationship with Christ, right? It's me and my personal salvation. Then now the question is, what is the community for? And this is where it can just be about, the community is just the place where I give money so that certain people get rich. And then you're like, well, this doesn't make any sense. I can just relate to God directly, right?
Right.
Gotcha.
The problem is that, and he's talking about, well, you got to get in the Bible and read the Bible. And I would agree with that. And if you get into the Bible and read the Bible, what you find is actually that the idea of personal salvation is nowhere in the Bible. So biblically, the Bible is about the people, right? It's about the world. It's about the kingdom. It's about the wholeness of society, right? And so now in that context, money is not about enriching an individual, right? Or somehow buying my way to salvation. Money has to do with justice. Money has to do with, are people getting their basic needs met? And are some people being enriched at the expense of others? Right now, obviously, of course, in a capitalist system and then previously in a colonialist slavery system, what we're used to is that in that system, we're not treated as human, right? And of course, in the Black experience, you're completely not treated as human. And all of your labor is about extraction. And so that capitalist idea and notion seeps into the church, and this is where it starts to feel like nothing but a business, because it's operating out of that same modality, right? So the individuals come in, they have to extract from the individuals to get the tithes and offerings, and then somebody gets, it's like you hear about these pastors that are like, God's put it upon me to get another jet. And you all have to give so I can get another jet, or God's put it upon me that I need a bigger mansion. And, you know, and that's obviously just the same capitalist extractive system. Well, that has nothing to do with what spirituality is about or what spiritual
Mm,
teachings are talking about. And
that's
so,
beautiful. Dan, I got to
and
stop you
so,
right there. I got to stop you
yeah,
right there because you really said a lot. I mean, you really unpacked a lot. You talked about the extraction business. And for some reason, what came to mind was mining. I don't know why,
Yeah,
you
that's
know,
the
yeah,
where,
first thing that hit my
you know what I
mind
mean?
too.
Where you're getting
But
all the goods.
that's the most lucrative problem, though. If you want to say it, if you ask me,
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm just saying that's the most lucrative problem. It's
Mm-hmm.
more than that. Like you said, it was straight, but it, like you said, it's just this whole idea of take, and give nothing. You know, we
Yes.
live in this picket fence with this picket fence mentality.
Yeah.
When ancestrally, historically, however you want to put that,
Mm-hmm.
people were communal.
Right.
You know, people did things on a community basis because nobody really had much more than the other. Nowadays, you got people that have so much more than other people that everybody's trying to get to be that same person. You know, so the perspective is kind of
yeah.
changed.
That's good. That's good. Well, we heard Daniel, the theologian, break it down. Can y'all tell me what you think is what is aiding this kind of cultural extraction, this church culture of this extraction business? What do you think is aiding that? It was brought up that it's individualism, and I totally agree. Individualism, as well as our compliance with this superficial maternalistic value system that says, for me, and I'm going to say this, if you are a pastor or preacher and you don't have the big screen behind you, and if you don't have the clear podiums, you know what I mean, then you are not successful.
Yeah.
And the pressure to want to live up to that, the pressure to want to be seen in that light, with they call walking preacher videos, where
Right.
you're a preacher walking and you got your luggage. You got to have Louis Vuitton luggage or something on the going from plane. You know what I'm saying? Going from the plane to the whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're not that, then you really not in ministry, and that's the pressure for us from the pool point. What do you think are some of those pressures or reasons why it's hard for people to engage in church, just dealing with this individualism versus the communal mentality?
All of that stuff that you just brought up, it all goes back to what Dan said, where it's about transparency. If you remember one of the last shows I was on that you had, I said that the church has lost the youth because they're not being transparent with them. They're not just keeping it 100
Yes.
with them, with the message, with the information and everything, just the knowledge of, God, like us learning about God and learning about godly ways. There's so many different ulterior motives going on that you lose the transparency, and so everything like goes back to that. And it's like now, like you said, with the individualism, now if I'm someone who went through that, I'm gonna cut out the middleman. I just want to have my relationship with God.
Oh yeah. Well, if you're feeling like the middleman is, what is it, skimming off the top,
Yeah.
and it's not a benefit to you,
Right.
right? They're getting this finder's fee
Yeah.
for between you and God. So yeah, I totally agree. And Rob has not Rob, golly, but Rob, you got something to say, because you apparently got something to say, because I just said your name. What's going on?
Well, I was gonna say that I think that this pedestal that we put those people on, sometimes it feels like you're being talked down to. And so a lot of the times, we say, well, how are you going to tell me if you look a certain way? We kind of want that person up there to look down on us because we're striving to be more like him.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
So it's almost like,
so it's like this hierarchy.
Yeah, it's like, so how you going to tell me about prosperity if your suit got a hole in it?
Okay.
But my pastor got diamond rings and he got a fresh
right.
I mean, that's how
it gives the credibility, right? That's what I'm saying. It lends you the credibility if you have the bling watch and the jet. But then
we never get to use the jet. But But my
People from
pastor
the
He
can
got
get-
one. He got
But
one.
my pastor
But he
got
got
one.
one.
but my
and the
pastor can go to
acceptance.
any conference he want to quick.
Yeah.
Right. And the acceptance that we as a congregation should be in this striving mode where the pastor has to be the person that is the person with the minority of wealth, and he's the reflection of, he or she is the reflection of this talented 10th or the 1% or whatever. The thinking that is acceptable. I think that Daniel's, he talked about that in some of his writings. Daniel, please shed some light on the I think it's the accountability part where we can say that we're going to go to the building fund, but if everyone does not agree to the fact that we should be building another building, then you're losing folks.
Right.
So the transparency is one thing, but the buy-in has to come from everybody. And I think that's where
That's
churches
true.
are losing its savor. Even if they're telling you what they're going to do, those are not the same priorities that we think that it should be done in. Please, Daniel, talk a little bit about that part of it.
Yeah. Well, what you all are bringing up about the hierarchy issue, right? I mean, so once Christianity gets taken over by the Roman Empire, essentially church starts modeling the imperial court. And even if you look at the architecture of a church, right, you got somebody way up high, as you said, in the clear pulpit. You've got all the people down below facing the same direction, not looking at each other. This is essentially what the palace court looks like. And even when you talk about transparency, you have to talk about power, and you have to talk about who is making the decision. So, the emperor can be really transparent and just saying, I got all the power. I'm doing what I want. If you don't do, what I tell you to do, I'm going to kill you. Right. I mean, the emperor can be really transparent, but that doesn't necessarily help things.
Right.
So the issue, we have to look at the power structures, and again, if we look at what Jesus actually does and how he functions, he turns the power structures upside down, right? So God shows up, supposedly the most powerful person, and becomes the least powerful person. And Jesus's disciples are also in a very non-hierarchical mode where they're just hanging out with the regular folks. They don't have
they're all
power
chilling
over people. And so again, if we were to imagine a church community that modeled that sort of non-hierarchical, even distribution of power, then now we've got a totally different way that we're dealing with money, because basically the judge of the system is not, does my pastor have all the bling? The judge of the system becomes, do the least among us have their basic needs met?
Oh my God. That's a mic drop.
Right?
That's a mic drop moment, Dan. Hold on. I gotta let that one simmer. So y'all heard what he said. A church kind of as an institution reinforces the power differential. But what if we were to shift from this idea of extracting the best and serving all? If serving everyone became the center focus, let's talk about that. Go ahead. Go ahead, Jordan Nichols.
If I may, I would love to chime in on that part, because like he said, the person at the bottom, quote unquote, or the person with the least power have the minimum basic needs. And like you said, it should be benefit for all. How do we make sure that everybody is good? Yeah, I think that the problem that a lot of churches have is they're looking at just the church.
Oh, that's good.
They're not thinking about the people that's driving by the church.
Wow.
Every day.
That's
in that community, people that, think about the schools.
Yeah.
The children, the different parts of the community, different businesses that, that the church it probably has people that, work for or own these businesses. They come
Right.
through, you know what I mean? So
So if the church is not affecting the community around it, then the church is a defunct organization.
And we talked about individualism, but it's the same thing with the churches. A lot of this church don't fool with this church, or this church don't fool with this business. But I mean, the
That's a
church
good
is
point.
a business. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but to establish a church, I believe you have to set it up as what is it called, tax exemption or 501c3 or C4 of some kind, correct? And that's the only way you can actually get those donations and not pay taxes on it. So if a church is a nonprofit, why would a church not function in the same way that a nonprofit would, with a mission statement and a vision statement, and say, okay, this is our organization, this is our mission,
Right.
this is our vision, this is how what we do or our existence is going to benefit the community. So my opinion, we should hold the church to the same standard that we would hold a nonprofit. If you go donate $30 to this organization, think about it. Most people are going to be, hey, you know, but then with the churches, oh yeah, take it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So what you're saying is, even churches, we got our own gang mentality, where not only do we as individuals, like we as members of the church, operate individualistically, but it is probably because the church itself is operating kind of in this separatist mentality, not seeing itself as a
part of the community.
Yes, a resource for the community. My God.
Said something there.
You really did. And you know what? The sad thing about it is that churches, there are many churches, not all.
Right.
But there are many churches that, first of all, shout out to the churches that are actually doing it.
Something.
Yeah,
Let me say that. Shout out to
real.
the churches that are actually doing it, that
Don't
make
let
a
us
difference.
generalize all
Yeah,
of y'all.
because I'm gonna say DT. If y'all want to shout out a church, y'all can.
Yeah, I love DT.
You love DT. Anybody
Just
got a
outside
church?
looking in, I'm not even a member. I can't tell you last time I've been, but I
Right.
can tell you I love DT.
I
Now,
love
that's
DT.
powerful.
I love DT. Anybody got another church you want to shout out?
Shout out to Union Grove Baptist Church in Hendersonville, North Carolina. That's where I was born and that's where I was raised at. And my grandfather was actually the first pastor of that church when I was little. And he had those morals that my man Jordan.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, my man Jordan was talking about where and Dan was talking about where he made sure that, you know, the people that was at the lowest had the bare minimum. And I seen my grandfather like come out his own pocket, you know what I'm saying, taking care of somebody's rent. But not only that, he wasn't even flashy. This man had chickens on his land, pigs in a pig pen, like really building fences, doing stuff like that. Like,
dude, they know about
work.
real assets and what it meant to build real wealth.
Yeah, this man was 70-something with an axe chopping wood.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm just think I'm a strong kid. Like, nah, Papa, let me do that. Thinking I can split the wood like how he split it. I'm about to pass out over there.
Yeah, those value systems. What about you, Rob? You want to shout out a church?
Well, I really like St. John.
All right.
Yeah.
There we go.
Even though I'm not in the area anymore, I still catch them on
Is that Inslee? Facebook. Is that Inslee Church? Is out there? Where is St. John?
Man, I don't know about no side of town.
Well, it's all good. Look, Daniel, you want to shout out a church, a church that you think is doing it the right way?
Well, here's what I would say. I think there are a lot of churches that are trying. I think, though, that the kinds of things that we are talking about have just such a very serious kind of death grip on the organization.
Yeah.
That it becomes a real obstacle. I think that, I mean, certainly right now, I mean, it's an online church, right? I mean, Pink Robe Chronicles that we're a part of and The Clearing.
Amen.
I mean, I think that they're really trying to break the mold of how church thinks about itself and functions.
Absolutely. Shout out to Dr. Melva Sampson. And her husband, Derek. They're breaking the mold.
You know, so there are a lot of people that are trying, but you know, this thing that we're talking about now is really profound and really deep. And and it's it's hard to talk about money. It's hard to talk about what is our economic vision. I think even the idea of a nonprofit organization, right? Which that's what you've got to become in our society to be a church. Even the way that's set up, the CEO of a nonprofit organization can make as much money as they want, right? So a nonprofit is essentially a sort of mini capitalized institution, and it but spiritual institutions actually in every religion really have this alternative economic vision. And I think that's the thing that is very hard for us to wrap our heads around. And that's why I'm so grateful that you're having this conversation.
What do you think should be or could be? Well, I'm gonna say this before I ask you. What do you think could be the alternative economic vision? I'm gonna say this: we have experienced as church folks. We've experienced many exploitative patterns, and these patterns have been demonstrated by religious leaders at the expense of the people in the congregations and the denominations. So, how do we get past the hurt? How do we get past the sometimes embarrassment of having given? Oh, and you know what, that just hit me. Having given so deeply and given so hard and given so much, and not being able to recognize how that has been given back, not even just to you as an individual, but how it has failed the community. Even if we just look at our families, right? People say it all the time. My grandmama gave all this to this church, but why my uncle can't be buried here? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we think that the time and the effort that our family members have put into these institutions should somehow relate back to us, to somehow benefit the extended family or the communities. Anybody want to talk about how we can get past that, the expectation, how it has hurt us, and how we can get past that?
Well, I think it goes back to what you were saying about transparency, because it says that like he said, it's hard to talk about money. You know what I mean? It's a touchy, tricky topic. But it goes back to transparency. Like, the church doesn't necessarily have to have a whole complete idea about how they're going to go about using the funds, but they should at least have some idea of how it's going to benefit the community. They should be telling people should know, oh, I go to this church. Like I said about DT, I just know what DT is doing in the community. So if I was to go pay my tithes at DT, I could be comfortable knowing that, oh, DT is doing this with the youth. They got this going on. They got that going on. Oh, that's helping the youth with what they're doing over there. Oh, they helping seniors in the community with what they're doing. Oh, with what they're doing over there, they helping businesses in the community. I can be comfortable knowing where my money is going. Like we said, the whole point of this topic is to talk about how money circulates. When it leaves my hand, if it goes to his hand, if he washes my car, I pay him to wash my car. Where does it go from there? He might see this guy, and this guy offers a service that he needs, and so you might offer a service that he needs. And I feel that we need to better understand how that works, and that starts with, like you said, transparency and where we put our money at. Specifically, right now, speaking about the church.
I like that. Because what you're pretty much saying is that values should guide the money flow. That the money should flow toward those people and things and institutions that have the same values as we do.
You preach.
And so, I like that. Daniel, you got something to say about that one?
Well, yeah. So first of all, and again, it's been pointed out that we're dealing with the society, right? And not just the individual institution. So to my mind, if we're having this conversation within the United States, the conversation has to begin with the issue of reparations, right? So white folks owe black folks about $8 trillion, right? That's the estimate of what the reparations amount is. So, when if we're going to then start looking at church institutions, right? So, for example, the Presbyterian Church USA, which is what I'm a pastor in, our balance sheet, our national balance sheet right now, is about $500 billion. Right.
My
So
God, I
that's
can't even
yeah,
imagine that.
I know. So that's the amount of money that's been socked away, right?
Mm,
And so to me, the way that this conversation has to start, and this is, 90+% white denomination, has to start with the fact that, okay, so how much of that money is that denomination going to start giving back to Black communities? And
my
whether that's
God.
partnering with Black churches, whether that's partnering with Black neighborhoods, we mentioned schools, we mentioned, people who can't pay their rent, all these things. So to me, that's where the conversation has to start. Now, I can tell you that you go into a white church and try to start that conversation. You've never seen the
Yeah, they're
exit
gonna
door
lynch us.
spin
They're gonna
so
lynch us,
fast.
Dan.
Well, I mean, but to me, it's somebody like me that has to start that conversation, and
Yeah.
it's unbelievably difficult, right? People don't want to hear that or have that discussion. So that's the first thing I think. I think then the second thing is that, right, beginning to look at what the values word has been used, and this is where the alternative economic vision comes in. When we talk about exchange of wealth, what is our value, right? And again, is my value extracting for me as an individual, or is my value that I am happy when everybody has enough, right? Which
Mm,
is the most basic biblical vision. I mean, if you look at the entire story of the people in the wilderness, every single story there is an economic story about everybody having enough. And
wow.
that when people try to take too much, whether it's too much manna or too many quails or whatever is going on, they get in trouble. Like, it doesn't go well.
You know what? I
So
think that's good. Yeah,
yeah,
that's a good
yeah,
lesson for us. And that's
yeah,
where we are. We're in that place where we're having to
yeah.
realize that this ain't going well.
This
This
ain't going
this
well.
ain't going. The pendulum has to swing back in the other
You
direction
know?
a little bit.
Yeah.
Y'all, Dan said something about going into white churches and asking them to give us some of this money from slavery. I want to be in the moment with you and get your initial response to the thought of reparations and just really the verbiage of reparations coming from somebody that's non-Black.
Mhm.
That's a deep one. Reparations, like you said, is important, but how do you mathematically, economically, mentally calculate that much money? And how much time would it take? If they would say, "Oh, we're gonna give everybody reparations back," if I had to assume that's something that's gonna take half a lifetime to even do.
Well, there are scholars who have actually done it. Dan, didn't you come up with you said you gave us a figure, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, how do we
No,
go
What was
about?
it?
How do we
You're
go
saying
about?
how do we go
How
about
do we go about
disseminating?
redistributing it? For instance,
Okay.
what's your last name, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, now that's a whole nother long story, but
I
I'm
see where you going.
Reverend
with
Terrace Broughton Robinson.
Okay, you see what I'm saying? And let's
Yeah.
just say that name is just so. I don't know that. We don't know, or you may know that. I don't know that, but let's just say Broughton is attached to a certain plantation
It
that
is
benefited.
Broughton Island, which was
Mhm.
a breeding plantation off the coast of Georgia. I'm from
Okay,
Broughton
now
Island.
who sits down and calculates how much money was made on that plantation, or in from that stream of revenue,
Okay,
and how much of
so you
that
said
was made
it's
is
pretty
owed to you and
confusing
your
to
family.
the thinking
Yes, very
that
much
it
so.
would be confusing. Okay, so listen. I'm just gonna say this: confused or not, I want my part. Go ahead, Rob.
I'm probably gonna say something that people don't like, but I don't think it should be an individual distribution. I think it should go into a system,
Okay.
infrastructure,
Mhm.
because there's no way any amount of money is going to heal trauma like that. It's
Mm.
not.
That's
But
a
if you
fact.
put it into a actual system and the infrastructure, it will eventually, I guess I'm saying it really simple, but it will work itself out.
Okay, so
This is not a one generation thing. Like, oh, I got $1 million, but if your mentality doesn't know what to do with it, it's like the lottery winners. They go out and get money and they blow it.
yeah.
So let's put it into, if anything, get a system to put it in, and the gears will turn and it will grow. It's kind of like you can teach what is it? You
Man
teach
to
a man how to
fish, but
yeah,
but
you
you can what? You can teach a man. What is it? You can give a man a fish, but if you teach him how to fish, it's okay.
So
giving a man a fish, he'll eat for a day, but teach him how to fish, he'll eat for a lifetime. We own it. Right?
I want to learn how to fish.
I got you.
Right. And
So it should be funded. The reparations, the trillions of dollars should be funded into
401k.
because
into a funnel of like lifestyle changes or some type of something to deal with the layers of
all of the above.
Okay.
Because you know, one thing is that when you get a lump sum of money and you put it in the right place, you can eat off the interest.
I understand.
So it's like, why would I want you to just give me a lump sum of money and then it's going to be gone in a couple generations? Now I'm trying to eat forever.
I got you. And so it's complex in terms of the way that we should disseminate it. It should help mitigate the actual harm that the Ma'afa or the psychological warfare against Black people through slavery has created.
Ooh.
For some reason, I don't know.
My opinion.
Listening talk about that made me think of, let's just say they was to open a bank and give everybody a bank account with so much money in it. I don't know if that's anywhere where he was going, but it's kind of leading me towards something like that.
It's the same. So if you open up and put money in a trust that says you can't get it out, but you can live off this interest, and this interest is going to pay you $5,000 a month. If you can't live off $5,000 a month with a job.
Okay, and then make it, and I'm not saying make it mandatory, but I'm saying it would be cool to be offered some classes in terms of what to do with money, how to make wealth, how do you create wealth. You hear about it all the time, but it's always a $300 class that you got to pay for on TikTok
from a scammer teaching you financial literacy.
Who need $300 from you? Right?
What's the name? Spectacular.
Pretty Ricky.
Let me show you how to get this money.
Dan, if there's something that you want to say, in terms of
no, so what's getting brought up now really gets to the second issue, which is this issue of healing, you know, that Taras, you brought up originally and has been talked about more. And because liberation is a huge part of the spiritual life. And, you know, we're absolutely right that without healing and liberation, throwing money at a problem doesn't help.
Right.
So this is why, and again, when we talk about an alternative economic vision, this is a multi-pronged system where people are deeply involved in their individual spiritual lives, where people are deeply involved in a collective spirituality, right? That values the humanity of everybody, where people are deeply involved in their own healing process, and then communities are involved in a healing process. And all of those things have to work together. And the idea is that within that, the way that we relate to money becomes completely different. The purpose of money and the point of our relationship with money is to aid in those liberative processes.
Wait a minute, Dan. You trying to say that the purpose of money is not to get my shine on? Because I thought it was to get flip-flop candy paint. I mean, you know, because often for people who have been deprived, the goal is to not live in deprivation. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so when you're low level thinking in that regard, you can't help but look at the individual strives. But I think that expanding our minds to the communal understanding. Finish it off, Dan. I cut you off, but I just making a joke. Go ahead.
No, it's not a joke. And again, this circles back to the individualism. If you look around society and you look around your own life and experience, and basically you see that it's everyone for themselves. And there is no communal support. There is no one looking out for you. And if you happen to be part of a group that the majority don't even consider you to be human, of course, individual striving for money makes complete sense. I mean, you can't get on anybody's case for thinking that way within that kind of a system. But this is where, again, now we cycle back to what is the purpose of church and money. If you become part of a community that basically starts to say, look, if you're a member of this community, if you need help, the community is going to help you, right? If you start falling through the cracks, the community is going to help you. So I'll tell you a story. This is a true story. Somebody told me a couple of weeks ago. It's a perfect example of this. So there's a church, and I'm friends with the pastor at this church. And one of the members of the church is renting. She doesn't have a lot of money. She gets a real bad bed bug problem in her apartment, and the landlord isn't doing anything about it.
Oh, wow.
So, of course, what starts happening is this very individual transactional thing. This person goes to the pastor. Now, the pastor by herself is trying to figure out how to help this person. The person's trying to figure out how to help themselves. The community has no involvement in this, right? Because everybody has this individualistic mindset. And one of the things I said to her is, so what if the church made a declaration that, look, if any of you, and I said, this church is a very wealthy church overall. There are plenty of people in that church that have an extra bedroom. There are plenty of people in that church that have an extra house,
right,
that they're not even using, right? Why does the church not just give that person a place to live until they get things squared away in their apartment? Like, this should not be a problem.
right.
This should not even be a long conversation, right?
Yes.
But because there's no collective economic vision, it becomes this private secret thing that now is a big struggle for everybody.
My
right?
God, Dan, that's perfect, because that leads into my last question. What does it mean for a church to work in community and economically? What does it mean for a church to work economically in community? What does that mean? What does it look like? What does it look like to you?
Well, for me, number one, you can start with something as simple as supporting the businesses in that community. Whether that's by the church members supporting them, or the church as a whole, if we want to look at it as a church as a whole, offering, some sort of donation to the business. Maybe he just started a new business, and this church down the road says, you know what, brother, whether he a member or not, I don't know what the case may be, but he's a member of the church or not, he's a member of that community. So they say, okay, brother, you want to open this business over here doing that? Well, I tell you what, we're going to sit down as a board. We're going to talk about it. Matter of fact, we're going to invite you in at some point to sit down and talk with us and tell us why we should take money from our church and put it into your business.
I love it. You know what? That made me think about it. Churches could adopt a business. Like, we're going to just adopt a daycare. We're going to adopt a dry cleaner. We're going to adopt a
barbershop.
Whatever business it is that we need in this community of folks, we're going to adopt a business, and we're all going to go to that business. That's good. I like that. Anybody else got some ideas of what does it look like for a church to operate in community economically?
So, in my opinion, I think it should start with doing an audit of personnel and finances.
Here we go.
Because when you do an audit of personnel, you create your Rolodex, like you were saying, Jordan. You have a Rolodex as a businesses, and then you start circling your money throughout that church, and then you understand that you have certain people that are right here. You don't have to go far to go.
Okay. So you're saying assess the human resources.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Real broad. I'm sorry. Yeah. And then once you have your personnel, then you say, okay, well, how can we distribute this money throughout the community or throughout our personnel to make them grow? Because when we grow our ecosystem, it's now going to touch another ecosystem, and now it's tied together. Because a lot of people the individual, they're in their little ecosystem and they think that it's just them.
Mm-hmm.
But every ecosystem is going to affect another one. Like if you take a predator out of a certain ecosystem, something's going to come up and it's going to mess it up.
That's so true.
So we have to
right.
understand that we're all connected.
Yeah,
Get yours healthy, collaborate, and grow.
I love it. I love it. So
Mhm.
assess the talent of what we have in the house and really be serious about supporting it and developing it and utilizing it.
Yeah, because we
Yeah.
might not know what we might need a graphic designer. We might have one that just graduated,
Yeah.
or we might have somebody that is working in customer service, but they have a degree in it.
Mm-hmm. And pay them. See, and I think that's another thing.
job
Because in the
creation.
church, the people, the people in the church, my Pope cousin, I'm thinking about my Pope cousin who graduated. He graduated with his technology degree, and they have used him, every week. And I don't know if they pay him or not, but I'm strongly leaning on not. And we do that in the church. We hold people's talents and their gifts and their skill set hostage and pretend that they have to give it to God when in
They should
actuality,
be paid
these
for.
these are payable skills.
Yeah.
Right. So we have to figure out how do we how do we balance, giving to the community and receiving and giving and receiving. Yeah.
Give and it will come back to you.
It will
Give
come
back
back.
to you.
So that was gonna. So listen, that was gonna be my answer as far as But no. But it's gonna spin right into it because I'm big on like education after high school type of deal, and if it's a church, and let's say these kids, they grew up in the church, their grandmothers brought them through there, mom brought them through there, and all of that. And you grew up in the church, and you go off somewhere and you go to college. Like it was always cool to see churches, raise up money just for a grant, just to get you
Get
started.
your books or get your
take
or
care
send
of
a
your
care
book,
package.
or maybe take care of like a semester of housing,
I love
something
it.
like that you apply to that.
Right.
Like he's saying, it's gonna come back. You know how grateful that person is gonna be, how hard they're gonna push themselves through school, and
Yes.
just to come back and then invest. Like they're gonna invest into that church for
Something.
helping
They're
them.
going to do something. That is so true. They're going to remember that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to say this, the AME Church, we have
Mhm.
17 colleges and universities. I'm just saying that there are Black churches that have educational institutions.
Mhm.
And they're struggling right now because culturally things have shifted
Mhm.
from the communal mindset to I ain't gonna pay to that church. I gotta get mine. And then even within the denominations, there's the thinking of I gotta prepare for my retirement.
Yeah.
And not this poor, sweet old lady who has been giving 1/10 of her money since she could walk, making sure that she's okay. There's something that I value. Jehovah's Witnesses. Y'all remember during Ivan, the Hurricane Ivan, there was not one person that if you were a part of the organization of Jehovah's Witnesses, if your house or whatever was messed up, them people was gonna put a tarp on your roof.
I know Underwood.
They were gonna make sure that you were straight in that denomination. So I'm saying this, if we all did that, if we all had that more communal mindset, it could shift it. I think Daniel said the church we're to model those ideals. And if we were the ones, if the church were able to demonstrate what it looked like to be selfless and to care for the least of these while in wisdom operating in a way that you are providing such a value to the community that you're smart enough to figure out a way for that to come back to you. I think that's how we would leverage our calling and our resources.
I think job creation is one of the biggest things that a church can do for the community. Not to do comparison because everything's, but because job creation leads to, the person being able to receive money from making a job, and what they're gonna do, go spend it with another business. That business might have employees. They pay their employees. What do? They just creates the domino effect, job creation. Because if I don't have any money out to spend, you know, I can't support any other movement. I can't support any other organization. But if I go get a job, now I can support yours or his or his. The next person can do that and do that. And you can't handle that by yourself. At some point, you're gonna have to do what? Hire people.
Right.
Again, now you hired another. Now you started that chain over again where they go and support another business. See what I mean? And I'm speaking on it from a person to person level, but you look at that from a broad level, it's so much. That can
it's
come up out
shifting
of
into the communal mindset. The if seeing that if I give this person a job, or not in that, if I create jobs for this group of people, then that will then create other jobs, or that would create somebody having the ability to eat or pay to get their medicine. You know what I'm saying? If we keep the flow
that's
in the community.
To me, that's one thing I do when I go into a business to support money. I'm looking around and I'm seeing what jobs they're creating.
I understand.
And if I feel like they're creating jobs, especially for people who really need them, I feel good about going in there to spend my money. For instance, Mr. Wings. Like, I like to go in Mr. Wings and just smile at the fact that, you know, there are people who look like me across the counter that probably wouldn't be able to get a job from nowhere else. And I'm just like, here, take my money.
Wait a minute, where's Mr. Wings?
That's just an example.
Pace Boulevard, right?
Yeah, Pace Boulevard.
Yeah. Okay, so shout out to Mr. Wings.
Yeah, they're definitely bringing jobs to the community.
And shout out to Blue Dot. Shout out to Blue Dot. Shout out to 1216 North.
Yeah, they're hiring people too.
And all of the job creating entities in the community.
That's a good point too. That's a definitely good point.
What?
And that Jordan said, you know, he looking across the counter and he like, probably wouldn't get no job nowhere else. But here go Mr. Wings hiring you.
Yes.
Right,
all those jobs,
you know
all those people and entities and agencies that hire the folks that other folks ain't gonna hire because they know their hours and ain't nobody gonna hire them.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you. Shout out. We're gonna let our dear guest, brother Daniel Walpert, have his final say in terms of what changes could be made. What would he like to see? How do we build wealth and get beyond the church, the individualism in church culture?
Well, first of all, I really appreciate this conversation, being able to be here with you all today. It's just been great, and I'm really glad that it worked out that I could join you.
Thank
you know,
you.
I love all the
Glad to have you.
I love all the comments that have been made, and I think that the whole ecosystem idea, right? And you know, and this issue of job creation, again, it's very interesting in terms of this alternative economic model, right? Because in the current church model, the people who are working in the church are getting paid for spiritual work. And the whole idea of the economics of the church is about supporting spiritual work. Interestingly, in the spiritual community model, nobody pays you for doing spiritual work, right? The community, so one of the monastic rules says that the community is to support itself by the work of its hands, meaning that it's supposed to create businesses in the community that bring it in some money that then allow it to do its spiritual work. Right. So, and so, for example, the ministry that we ran for 20 plus years, which is called the Minnesota Institute of Contemplation and Healing, this was the model that we adapted. We didn't get money for our spiritual work per se. We did a lot of different activities, healing activities, farming activities, different things that help bring in money that would then support our spiritual work. So I think that you know, this whole notion of we're a community of people within this wider community that is supporting vitality. This is a very ancient notion. And for example, there's one monastic order that recently celebrated its 900th anniversary, and it reflected a lot on on this very, very long history. And what you find with these monastic communities
Mm-hmm.
is that the economic vitality of the community around them always increases. Whether that's farming, whether that's people who are doing crafts, whether that's people who are doing different kinds of labor, whether that's people who are merchants, the economic vitality always increases, exactly as has been suggested here. And so I really think that again, if we flip on its head this entire way that we're relating to money in the church to this much more community of care, ecosystem, communitarian kinds of models, we'd have a very different experience of our spiritual communities.
I love it. I love it. Well, the churches that are doing that are the ones that are thriving. Y'all know the churches. If you want to do good in church, you get a daycare, you know, or they get some kind of educational something that people are paying for, or preschool or something.
Yeah.
I like when he talked about farming, because what about if we had farming markets? What if we had like our own fresh market? Each
Free
church,
community gardens too.
yes,
Yeah.
community gardens and markets where people make crafts and make things and you know what I'm saying? What if we bought our toilet tissue from each other and our toothpaste from each other? That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and one example of the farming thing, this is a shout out to Reverend Heber Brown III. He's somebody I've known for a long time. He started something called the Black Church Farming Network.
Nice.
And they're doing some incredible work with using a lot of, churches often have extra land that, it's just the lawn or whatever, that they're not really using. And they're and they're also networking with Black farmers all across the South and creating farmers markets and different things like that. And that's exactly this sort of model. And it's, he started out with his own single church. He's got dozens and dozens of places working on this now. It's really a great example of this kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that's a great model. I thought that is Heber Brown. Is that his name?
Heber Brown. Yeah.
Heber Brown.
Yeah,
Okay.
Heber Brown. Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna look him up because
it's called
honestly,
the Black Church Farming Network, I think. Yeah.
Got it. Perfect. Yeah, because that's what we should be doing. Utilizing what we have to be a benefit to the people in the community. If, like he said, if we move to this collective care model, what do the people need? Then becomes the central focus. And that's how we actually increase our worth to the community.
Yeah.
If we figure out what the people need.
Income.
Yes. Yes. So if we're creating jobs, that, just like you said, if we're not paying you to work in the church, but because we're doing such good work in the church and shaping minds and instilling values in the hearts of people and building community and responding to needs and people's in showing care, because we're doing all the right work in the church, we're creating businesses outside of the church and around the church that benefit the community.
And a nonprofit can hold a for-profit as a subsidiary, if I'm not mistaken. I do believe that is true.
Yeah, that is possible.
Yeah.
That is possible. All right, y'all. Well, we've had a great conversation tonight. We have really knocked down why the Drewski thing kind of upset so many people.
Yeah, we did.
Because it was true.
It did wrap around.
It was true. And to those who are working toward the upbuilding of the Kingdom of God or the Kingdom of God and this care-centered culture, then we were able to laugh about it. But those whose popularity and your sense of livelihood is dependent on you being seen as a rock star preacher or someone who is above the rest of the people because I have a rock star pastor, they were pretty mad. But I'm going to say this, that I'm reminded of the story of Jesus and the disciples, the homies Rob was talking about. It wasn't very formal. It was just they was homies.
Yeah.
And didn't they say something about 5 loaves and 2 fish? That everybody got fed with that little bit. And I would dare to even imagine that because somebody shared 5 loaves and somebody shared 2 fish, that means somebody else went back to the house and got 5 more loaves. Somebody
There you
else
go.
went and got 2 more fish. And my
Mhm.
imagination says that when I start, hey, you want some water? Everybody else said, well, I got some in the car and I got some over here. And
Yeah.
I could see that miraculous occasion being a coordinated care.
Mm.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
thank you all so very much. Thank you, Dan.
Thank
Welcome,
you.
Doc,
Thank you.
Rev. We appreciate you increasingly. We appreciate you.
It's
All
wonderful to
right.
be here. Appreciate you all. Thanks.
All right.
Yes. Jordan Nichols, you are a fantastic young brother that is doing a lot of good work in the community. We appreciate you. Thank you so much for your time
I
here tonight.
appreciate y'all for having me.
All your
sure.
great ideas and all your high energy. I'm looking forward to doing that pop-up with you too in the
Okay,
spring.
for sure. Me too.
What kind
Rob.
of pop up? What kind of pop
Oh
up
yeah,
is
we're
it?
gonna
Hold on.
let y'all know.
Oh,
We're gonna let
okay.
y'all know.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Rob, you came in with the God voice on us again tonight, brother. We appreciate you.
It's always good to be here.
Amen. Amen.
He acting like Russell Simmons.
Yeah, thanks
Thank you
for
for coming out. God bless you. Good night.
Right. Big V, once again, it's been real.
Oh, yes. Always, man. Make sure that y'all subscribe to Sex in the Church podcast on YouTube. Make sure that y'all follow Reverend Terrence Broughton on Facebook. And make sure that y'all tune into Sex in the Church podcast on Instagram.
Absolutely. Yes, indeed. And by the
Amen.
way, pick up Brother Dan's latest book, The Spiritual Practice of Social Transformation, while you're at it. All right. Y'all, God bless you. Good evening. And remember, community economics. Economics is about who gets what, where, and how. And if we think to keep the community centered, then we will make sure that God will center us in the name of Jesus.
Amen.
All right. Amen.
All
See y'all
right.
next week.
Amen. Yep. Peace.